Hey Jeff.
Hey Joe, how's it going?
Good. Happy Monday.
Happy
Is today
Monday.
Monday? No, today's not Monday actually.
Today's Tuesday. We're getting a little bit closer, guys. A little bit
We're,
closer.
we're back almost back to the routine, but we wanted to do it on the Monday. But for today, it's March 2nd. We just got the report from the real estate board. So that's the reason why we're doing it today, or else we'll be making up all our numbers if we did the podcast yesterday.
And if you
Right?
can't tell by how lighthearted we are, the numbers are good. So we're definitely going to dive into that.
Let's do it. But before that, as per usual, talk to me. What was Jeff, the realtor, like the last month?
We've been really busy. Jeff, the realtor, yeah, the buyers are ready. We haven't won an offer yet, but we have gone into multiples. Even just today, we're up against 6 other offers on a two-bedroom condo in Burnaby. So it sounds like people are ready to go.
Yeah, let's not spill too much of our beans here for the market update. For my side, busy, very, very busy. Could have done a lot more if there was just more opportunities out there for my buyers. Right now, I've been seeing that a lot of homes are listed on Monday and they don't even make it to the weekend open house, and they are generally sold and open house is canceled. I'm seeing more and more and more of that, which is very unfortunate for some of our buyers because some of our buyers have regular 9 to 5 jobs and they
Yeah.
can't do anywhere else but the weekend. But now it seems like we've been advising them that if they really want to get this done, sometimes we have to be a little bit more dramatic, especially it's the ones that they don't have a irrevocable direction of presenting offer,
Mm-hmm.
right? But with that being said, you can see that both me and Jeff were pretty lighthearted to start this market update. So we've been waiting to do this market update for a while now. And it's finally the turn that the numbers are coming in and we are so ready to share with everybody. So let's run through our numbers as per usual, and then we'll go from there.
Okay,
Ready?
Joe, why don't you start with the sales activity?
Let's do it. For the month of April, we had 2,741 homes that were sold. That is a 16.5% decrease from April of last year, which, as a reminder, pretty much the peak of the market. And there's actually a 8.1% increase from last month. And don't forget, guys, from our last month's market update, this is after another 40% increase in sales activities compared in February.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, though, everything seems good, but we are still about 15.6% below the 10-year average. Now, Jeff, talk away with some pricing.
Yes, so the HPI benchmark price for April was at $1,170,700. Now, this is a 7.4% decrease from April of 2022, but it is a 2.4% increase from just last month. Now, yeah, 2.4%, it may sound small, but it's actually quite significant when we're talking about these kinds of numbers.
And the key thing is it's sloping up because, as a reminder, last month our prices compared to the month before that went up by 1.8%. So isn't that the price is going up? It is accelerating at the pace that it is going up.
Yes, third consecutive month of increases.
Yep, definitely.
What about inventory, Jim?
Inventory. Let's talk about this. This is we talked about this as a big conversation from our last market update, and we didn't really do any better from last month. So on a monthly basis, last month we have 4,307 homes that got listed. That's a 29.7% decrease from April. That's almost 30%. And that is almost identical to the amount of listings that we got in the Greater Vancouver for March, where we had 4,317. Yes, we actually had 10 less new listings this month compared to last month. And this amount of listings is 22% below the 10-year seasonal average. Talking about it as a whole, we're now sitting at 8,790 total inventory at the end of April. That's a 4.2% decrease from the peak of the market last year, April 2022. And it's actually a slight uptick of 2% in comparison to last month. This number is still 20.9% below your 10-year annual seasonal average, which talked about it in right now in April, we should be well north of 10,000 listings active on the market.
So we sold more homes and we have less product now than we did last month.
Well, that's not just last month. It's been a couple of months now, but we'll talk about it. Let's wrap it up with sales and active ratio.
Right. So with the sales active ratio, we were sitting at 32.7% across the board, 24.4% for detached homes, 40.1% for townhomes, and 37.4% for condos. What does that mean? We are back in a seller's market. For today, we are actually going to skip out on my favorite portion and talking about the rental market just because the report's not out yet, but we will touch on that at a later date. So why don't we put together all of these numbers to make it a little bit more digestible for our listeners? And Joe, you can start us off, please.
All right. I mean, where do we start? There's just so much. Just by presenting the numbers, everybody can kind of already feel where we're going. But you know what? As per usual, let's just start off with the comments from Andrew List. Everybody should know who he is by now if you listen to our podcast regularly. This is what Andrew said. When we released our market forecast in January, we were one of the only organizations taking the contrary view that prices were likely to appreciate in 2023. I get it. During that time, it seems like the world is going into the dump, blah, 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 blah. And then he continues saying that, and what we are seeing unfold so far this year is consistent with our predictions that near record low inventory levels will create competitive conditions where almost any resurgence in demand will translate to price escalations, despite the elevated borrowing cost environment. At the crux of it, the issue remains a matter of far too little resale supply available relative to the pool of active buyers in our market. Wow, that is a mouthful. But let's just get it started saying that this is not the first month we talk about inventory issues. It's been going on for a while now, and we've been talking about it for a while.
I feel like we've been talking about this since September.
Pretty much. It was actually relatively early into our podcast days that we've been talking about this inventory. And like I was stating, our monthly new inventory remaining identical to March while we're deep into the spring market and our total inventory only went up by 2% compared to last month. This is obviously nowhere close to where we need to. We already addressed that in the last month's market update, where we need to be and where we were. That hasn't really changed. So anyone that wants to know the numbers, please just listen to that podcast there. And like you said, we've been talking about this since last September, and this is basically just everything unfolding right in front of us. And now that we have the numbers to share with our people. So Jeff, my question for you is, how does it feel to be right?
I feel like maybe we do have a crystal ball sometimes, but you can say it's luck. This is actually one thing I wish that we weren't right about, because we work with sellers and we work with buyers, and it's not fun being on the opposite end. As a buyer, you're like, hey, you get exhaustion from all these multiple offers and losing, and as a seller, not getting the right price because the markets just can't support it. Neither of those situations are fun. Being in a balanced market is ideally where we want to be, but hey, I guess it shows that we might know a thing or two about where the market is going.
It's funny you say that, because I was actually listening to another podcast, real estate podcast, and they're saying that some agents really just like to be a buyer's agent because they feel like being a buyer's agent, you are just involved in the happy stuff. Shopping for new inventory is like shopping with a friend. You don't have to talk about your charges because the seller pays for that. So it's overall just a very positive environment. It's nothing combative, and it's just overall like, hey, Jeff, we're friends. Let's go look at some homes. Let's go shopping. Who doesn't like shopping with a friend? However, ever since kind of this low inventory status has gone, this is no longer becoming a happy process for a lot of people anymore. So it's actually these realtors who we back in the days like to deal with only buyer's agent. Now they're feeling the pressure as well. As they're like, oh my God, I can't get anything done. The buyer's not happy. I'm not happy. Nobody is happy. It seems like the only person that's happy is the sellers. Maybe I need to reprogram how I think, and maybe I should at least be able to face people who wants to list and join that part of the market as well. Because if the market swings one way too severely, if you're only working with buyers, your income is pretty limited right now. By what's out there.
That's why we have designated teams that focus with the buyers, and we also have designated teams that work with sellers, just so that we can capture both markets. And at the end of the day, if you're able to take the emotion out of it as a buyer, it's quite simple. You either open up your pocketbook or you lower your expectations. Those are the only two routes. Or you exit the market completely and you keep paying someone else's mortgage and you keep renting.
And that is how I know that the whole year of podcasting is giving you a lot of valuable experience.
Yeah, how crazy has it been since like August of last year until now? But
it's almost been a year.
Our listeners didn't come here for that. Why don't we talk
Yeah.
a little bit about, okay, why do we think there's this issue of the lack of inventory? I'll start with a couple. Number one would be, okay, and then what? And what I mean by that is, after you sell your property, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
There's such a shortage of good properties out there. So if you're downsizing, you're competing with a lot of first-time home buyers and such. There's a lot of people who are looking for those 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. What if I sell and I won't be able to find the next thing that I like? And especially now that we're entering multiple offers again, you know, you and I both have encountered this personally and also through our real estate networks. Not only are we having a hard time finding the next home, but even if they find it, they might not be able to get it.
Yeah.
And, you know,
it's just a vicious cycle. It is just a vicious cycle. And at a certain point, as a seller, you're just like, do I really want to do this? Because if I actually do sell it and I can't buy anything, it's like a one-way ticket. Like, I can't turn back. So I might as well not jump.
Yeah, and there's certain people who are like, hey, I sold at the peak of the market. I made good money on my detached home. I'm willing to rent for a year or two, see if the market and the prices will drop so that when they enter the market again, they're getting a discounted price. But who loves to move? I don't think people enjoy packing up their bags and keeping it in storage lockers like that much. I was hosting an open house out in North Burnaby, and they were literally downsizers. And this woman, she's like, I'm tired of living out of a furnished condo that doesn't feel like my own home. All my stuff is in a storage locker. I'm sick of it. And she's definitely not the only one out there who's encountering a situation like that.
I mean, we have another client. I mean, I've been working on this client before we you know, when we started to do this podcast, and I'm still dealing with this client, and it's exactly the same situation, right? He sold at the peak at, you know, when the market was good, great, and he got the money. He was so happy, right? It's been 18 months. He still can't find this right product for him to buy. So he's getting really frustrated.
Well, it sounds like he either needs to open up his pocketbook or lower his expectations. So exactly what I said. If he's listening, you know what? This message is for you. Good luck.
I'm going to sound clip that and send it anonymously to him. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the second reason?
Number two, the elevated rent. Okay. So for anyone that bought a while ago, this new level of rent is something that they have not experienced before. And for anyone that's not stretched to the max, they're loving this new cash flow income. So what is the urgency of selling? If I'm getting like $2,300 for a 1-bedroom condo, I was talking to someone at open house. She's paying $2,850 for a 1-bedroom and den right now. Like, why would a seller be in a rush to sell?
Yeah, no, I'm saying, if a home can give me $2,000 passive income every single month, I have no motivation to sell this whatsoever.
Exactly, because when you do sell, you still have to pay capital gains tax on it. So
exactly. So the only way for me to actually want to sell this is something dramatically happens to my personal life, or something dramatically happens to this condo. That's pretty much about it. Because there is no other reasons. No, I agree with you. I am gonna add on, what did I put here? Let me just take a look. Blah blah blah. I put in economic uncertainties. Yes, everything seems like if you just focus on the real estate part is positive, but the world is still in a very weird place right now. Let's just talk about the latest news. Did you hear about First Republic Bank this morning?
Yes.
They are now officially the second biggest bank to actually go under. That title was to my favorite bank, apparently, Silicon Valley Bank. But anyways, First Republic Bank has gone under. I believe Chase, the bank, the bigger bank, is now buying it. If you don't think all these bank runs and daily talk about how we are in a recession or about to be in a recession, or literally redefining what recession means as we go along, if you don't think that this is going to play into the psyches of a lot of buyers, a lot of sellers' head, that's crazy. That you're just being completely unrealistic, right? I mean, we always talk about it. There's this, what is that? Analysis paralysis. right? This is the perfect example. You're sitting there going, oh my God, what's happening with the banks? What's happening in North America? What's happening overseas in Asia? What's the economy doing? Maybe it's just not a good idea for me to do anything at all. And just to kind of put it into perspective, in last month, not actually last month, but last week, well, I guess it is last month now, it's May. I went to a luxury car dealership, actually couple, just for fun. I was just there and I have like an hour to spare. And there was a couple of electric vehicles that I was kind of thinking about before the interest rate decided to do this. So I just thought, hey, I only see on pictures and on videos. I want to go and be able to sit and try it out and stuff like that. I have never ever seen car dealership salespeople treat me the way that I got treated before. And I don't think it's because of I look much older. Granted, I was in a suit. Okay, that's the only, because I didn't even gel my hair because I have other things that was going on right afterwards. The moment I went in, I had a salesperson, not a front desk lady, a salesperson come say hi to me, and then they pull the sales manager to come say hi to me, shake my hand, says if there's anything that we're not doing well, please let us know. After we're done talking, trying out, seeing the cars, before I left, the salesperson came out and be like, okay, before you leave, I have to get my sales manager to come up to say hi. I say goodbye to you. We really appreciate your time, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just the back of my mind, I'm like, what's happening? Because I also went car shopping at the peak of COVID, and I can let you know that nobody wanted to talk to me. Nobody even said hi to me at all. So
maybe they saw a couple of your billboards and was a little starstruck.
No, that's definitely not the case, because I came out and be like, what's your name? I'm like, oh man, my billboards and my bus ain't working still.
So how heavy was the stench of commission breath in that sales center?
Oh, quite a bit. I can feel the desperation, and I could definitely sense the, how do I say it? The change of environment. But why am I bringing this up? That though, it's because economic uncertainties. People are not even buying cars anymore either.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Mazda, Nissan, like those are doing really well. It's just a luxury market. It's not a necessity, it's a want, not a need. But people will always need cars. And to be honest, the new Kias and Hyundais, they look pretty nice.
Yeah, they do. They suffer the wait list is like 2 years long. But anyways, that's a completely different podcast altogether. Let's talk about the next one. I have positive outlook for the future. Let me just put it this way. Let's turn back the clock and fast forward till today. If the market has treated you the way that the Vancouver real estate market has treated some of the homeowners in the last 20 years, what do you think their expectation for the next 20 years is going to look like?
We're going on a run, baby. Uphill
well,
only.
When I thought there was a cap, there is no cap. It's just keep breaking that cap. If you do that for like 10 years, my expectation is we're just going to keep going up until infinity, right? We're like the GameStop stocks of COVID, right?
So are you calling Vancouver one-bedroom condos will be $1 million in the next 10 years?
What are you talking about? There's already one-bedroom condos in Cole Harbor. That's $1 million. You're 10 years too late, sir. You're 10 years too late. Now, as we kind of, we kind of talk about this, let's look into the future. So we look into the past, we look at the past statistics, and we're like, okay, well, if the last 20 years is so good, then, the next 20 years has to be good at like something like this, right? I'm so confident. Now let's talk about the future. I'm pretty sure we talked about this many times. There is a lot of reasons why homeowners or investors, they're very confident where the market is going to go in the future. We talked about the elevator rent. You just spent a good 5 minutes talking about that. We kept talking about the supercharged immigration program. And of course, the instability of everything that's kind of happening around the world. That gives anyone that already has their foot in the game in Vancouver real estate a lot more confidence. And when you have so much confidence, that leads into my next thing is the refusal to admit defeat. So what do I mean by that is that if you know that at one point, let's make an example that your home was getting sold at $2 million, now that is down to about $1.5 million, but the past history tells you that the real estate market is going to go up. The future, political stands and with all the immigration is telling you that the prices will eventually go up. Would you be happy taking a $1.5 million if there's nothing in your personal life that you just don't have to deal with? You see the psychology behind this? So what they're going to do is they're going to wait until that price of that home goes up back to where at the peak of COVID. Then they're going to be like, okay, I want to start selling this. And this could have many, many reasons. It just could be personal, dignity, face, or like, hey, my neighbor sold for 2 million. There's no way that my house is only going to get sold for 1.5. If I sold my home for 1.5, that neighbor that sold for 2 is going to, their realtor is going to tell them, and then that neighbor is going to laugh at me.
Well, yeah. And, they have the mindset that past performance is an indicator of future performance. So I think even if they want it $1,000 more than their neighbor, it's still going to be like, aha, I sold my property for $1,000 more.
And because of that, now they're waiting until a point where it goes back to that point, and then they'll sell it. Me, you, we both have clients that's like this. I have a client that I had a listing last year. We weren't able to achieve the number they want. They just took it off. And guess what? The moment they say that it's going to be good for that number, they say that call them and they'll list with me tomorrow. And then they want to get it sold. And the only reason why they don't want to get it sold right now is because it's not what their expectation is of that particular home. And they've been in that home for, I think it's like 30 years. Like they probably already like 6x, probably 6x the money. But even that last little bit, that last $200,000 means a lot. It means a lot to them because they
want to
saw
squeeze
their neighbors out
every drop out of that house, and I don't blame them. Wouldn't, right?
Exactly. What's next for you?
Well, something else to consider is people will have to give up their current mortgage rate. So for anyone who has a mortgage right now, it's anywhere between 1% and 4%. Why would they want to let that go and pay over 5% instead? Sure, some people, in some cases, you can port over your mortgage, but that's not all cases. So in the off chance that they want to upsize and they want to move from a condo to a townhome or a townhome into a detached house, even if they feel comfortable, the interest rate will be a big barrier in allowing them to do that because they just can't pay an extra $5,000 a month. Most people in Vancouver who have a regular job cannot, unless you're selling drugs. And even then, that's a whole set of different issues.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. A lot of people are like, well, just assume your mortgage over. It's not that simple. Like we are not a banker, so we don't want to get into this assumable mortgages and stuff like that. We should get a mortgage specialist to come and talk to us about all of this stuff one day. But just don't note that a lot of people, they're not in the assumable mortgage stance. So buying and selling would actually end up being much more costly for them, right? And talking about switching homes, not upsizing or not downsizing, how about just lateral movements, right? Just for example, let's just take someone's home that they live in for the last 15 years. It's getting older and they're thinking about switching. They don't want to upsize. They don't want to downsize. They just want to stay the same size. Maybe it's a 2-bedroom condo. It's just getting a little bit older and there's some special levies coming up. And they're like, I don't want to deal with this. I want to move to somewhere that's a little bit newer. But the gap between new homes and old homes are so great nowadays that it's another hurdle for people that's able to upgrade themselves to a new home like that, right? And that's the main reason why, like the group of people in Chinatown, they don't want that change, even though it's the current thing is not the best for them, because they know that once this whole thing changes, the developer will give them first right of refusal to say, hey, you want to buy first, you have the first pick of the whole tower. But in the back of mind, it's like, I can't afford this. Yeah, you can pay me 30% above my market value of my current home right now, but 30% of what my home is worth right now that's built in 1982 is still not going to be enough for me to buy a new one in your building.
You're about 50% short.
Right? So, I mean, I always have this idea. I know I'm crazy, and I have kind of shared this with some developers out there. I probably need to talk to a city hall person for this. In order for us to really say clean up the streets and move things into a newer look, build new buildings, take out the older buildings, instead of giving these guys the first right of refusal and buying them out with 20% interest, they should just automatically build a unit within that new building and just automatically give it to them. If that is the case, I can expect all the changes to happen quite quickly. That's what I'm saying.
I don't disagree.
Just an idea out there. Just an idea.
It's a great idea, but again, where's that money going to come from?
That's the thing. That's the thing, right? So, I mean, that's just my example. But I know that, Jeff, you have a perfect example of this whole thing that I'm talking about, going from old, switching that to new. I
Oh
think this
yeah.
is once again in the North Burnaby area. Do you want to just share
Okay.
your story? And this is
This
like
is
super
literally
recent.
happening live this week. So everyone who's listening to this podcast, you probably know about the Brentwood area, very hot right now. A lot of new developments. What are those selling right now per square foot? About $1,300 per square foot, right? In a 2-bedroom
Mm-hmm.
condo, you're looking about 850 square foot.
Mm-hmm.
Compare that to an early 2000 build at $1,000, 1,000 square foot, a little bit over. They're only selling for about $760 a square foot. It might not seem significant, but if you compare those two side by side, that's an over 300K difference. So you go from 800K to 1.1 mil, and you're getting almost 200 square feet less. So that math just doesn't make sense for a lot of people. Yeah, new, who doesn't like new? But hey, we've also seen a lot of examples in that area where new buildings have had a lot of issues with water ingress, especially in the
Mm-hmm.
parkade. You know the one I'm talking about.
Yep. No, definitely. And that's exactly what we're talking about. Let's take your perfect example and let's just plug into the numbers I was talking about. Let's say that this seller had a developer that came and wanted to buy you out, okay? And then you say that your home is worth 800,000. We'll give you another 20%. So 820% of 800,000 is 160,000. That means that
Mhm.
I'm going to get 960,000 from the developer to buy me out. Great. But on the flip side, you just told me that a same new one, it's $300,000 difference. Where am I going to, pitch up the difference of this $160,000 difference, especially if I'm retired and I don't have I'm not working
Yeah, who's going to give me a mortgage for that?
anymore. Exactly, exactly,
So
exactly.
that's really like the main reasons that Joe and I have come up with. Like, of course, there could be more. If you do have some to share, please send us a message. But
Mm-hmm.
really, for the upcoming months, it's going to be interesting to see if more people are willing to list their home now that they know we are back into a seller's market. If
Mm-hmm.
they do, how many buyers could it satisfy? How is it going to shift our supply and demand relationship? Would it be more than all the buyers out there?
Mm-hmm.
Like, highly, highly, highly doubt it because the demand is just way too strong, and
Mm-hmm.
it'll be interesting to see the next couple months unfold. But
Mm-hmm.
before we conclude the podcast, Joe, we get this question a lot. Why don't you answer it this time? Do you have any advice for the buyers and sellers out there?
Okay. Yeah, I realized that for the last couple of podcasts, it's just you sharing. So for me, my advice, let's start with buyers. For buyers, my advice for you this month is the days that if you're thinking of lowballing and having a chance to be successful, maybe you're thinking about, hey, I'll go $100,000 below asking, or maybe 50 or even 40, and really just going like this and thinking that, oh my God, the seller is going to be desperate with all this negative news that's coming up, blah 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 blah. Well, that I'm gonna say that ship has officially sailed.
Mhm.
Anyone looking for a good deal who's listening to a podcast I'm air quoting right now, it really isn't just gonna be there anymore, because these people who, even if they were desperate, they're not gonna be desperate anymore based on all these information coming from the medias and like us.
I'm going to interject there. The good deals are there. It's just the definition of what a good deal is shifting.
Yes. Okay, fine. My definition of a good deal is a lowball offer getting accepted. Or like something that's lower than what the market value really stands for.
Now a good deal is, hey, you pay 5% over market value, but you got the deal done. So that's a good deal.
Reminds me of 2020 and 2021. Moving on, sellers. For sellers, my advice for you this month is, if you are sitting on the fence and you want to move your money elsewhere because you want to reallocate your funds and assets, this is the time to list. Are you still going to have people throwing lowball offers at you? Yeah, probably. But I bet you anything that there is going to be more buyers out there that is sincerely wanting to buy their home, because you both can say, and I've been talking to a lot of agents out there, they're all saying that buyers are starting to get a little bit restless out there again.
Mhm.
So they're getting tired, they're getting desperate just because they really cannot find anything that is to their liking. So those are my advice for the buyers and the sellers for this month.
Awesome.
And with that, that will pretty much conclude our market update this month. So Jeff, you know what to do.
Yeah, if you guys don't know by now that I am Jeff and he is Joe, then I don't know where you guys have been. But please help us with our algorithm. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share this episode with your family and friends. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube. We will see you next week with a new episode, and I hope you have a great week.